right, we're good.
As you can see, Joe, he has better production values than me, and it drives me crazy.
Coach Schuman, that was impressive, man. I'm hyped now.
That's
See,
funny.
you're getting them all gassed up.
That's funny. That's good. That's a good way to start.
He was spoiled with me and loved my stuff, and now 5 seconds into your show, I'm irrelevant.
That's
You can never be replaced, Cully.
Well, the show we did last week, they mentioned that I've gotten cuter over the years, so I said I'll probably have some success on Grindr.
Oh, that's wonderful. Sometimes there's information that doesn't have to always be shared.
Oh, right.
Sometimes it's just like
you don't have to say.
You actually think it, and then not actually,
and not actually say it.
Come out.
Okay, I'll remember that tonight.
It's an FYI. You know.
When we're on Rebel Republic tonight, I'll remember that.
No, Rebel Republic is let it fly, baby. Let it fly.
Like when I mentioned Martin Luther King having mistresses, that was okay.
Yeah. Those all everything goes. Rebel Republic.
Okay.
Rebel Republic is the let it fly. I'll apologize later. Show.
So this is Husky Huddle. And with me, as always, the host of our show, the coach himself, 2024 9-year-old Pop Warner head coach candidate of the year, David Schuman. Coach Schuman?
I think it's AYF, but that's.
Oh, it's called AYF?
Yeah.
And to my bottom again, former UConn wide receiver, UConn graduate assistant, and he went on to a stellar career at Harvard, where I played him 10 times and beat him once at Holy Cross. And then he was most recently the offensive coordinator at Cornell, where he actually recruited, was it Rennell's kid? Did you say you recruited Rennell Jump's kid?
No, Mike Burton's kid.
Burton's kid, that's who it was. Burton's kid. Yes. So Joe Villipiano joining us. So we have the dream team as far as coaches and expert breakdown.
Thank you for having me on, guys. I'm excited to talk some ball. It was a good weekend for the Huskies. Yeah,
Joe wanted to make sure he was prepared, so he didn't want to come on Friday. He wanted to make sure he watched enough film, so he had enough analysis to go with. So that's why I took. Yeah, for the game. And Tyler rang the bell. So that's all you need to know.
What did you think of the game?
What did I think of the game? Well, unfortunately, it was bad football. We do not start fast. I like that we're a second half team. We at least make adjustments and come back in the second half. And I like that I think their coaches must be watching the show, because they scored their 68-yard touchdown run on my play suggestion, which was the inside zone divide. So to have that is amazing.
Well, must be pipelining the show right directly into the office. I mean,
I'm telling you, I gave him
on now. I mean, is that incredible?
I gave him a whole system. All I wanted was some inside zone. I wanted some IZ divide, and they haven't run the play action off it next, but I think it's coming. And then defensively, God, man, they get after it. They got pressure on the quarterback. They did a nice job against the run. The game, they kept them in the game. I mean, the game should not. Rice could have easily pulled away, and we held them. We had bad field position. They were playing a baseball player, a quarterback. Their quarterback Drew Delaver is a baseball player apparently who started at quarterback. He threw for a whopping 88 yards.
Okay.
Yes, 2.9 yards.
Well, the quarterback was hurt, or
he must have been. He must have been. Yeah. He's a freshman. So yeah, and they had. I mean, the running back Connors isn't bad, but I mean he only averaged 2.3 yards a carry. So they really were a mess on offense, I would say, and our defense shut them down. Our passing game again, it just irks me a little bit. We're not as efficient as we should be. 128 yards passing in 90% of football games is not going to get you the win. So I'm happy that we pulled it off. Robinson, 15 carries, 132 yards, averaged 8 yards a carry. He was averaging 10 yards a carry at one point, and he had the 68-yard touchdown run, which really pulled things away. And then I was surprised they didn't use Cam as much, but they go with the hot hand, it seems. Skylar Bell, TJ played well.
that big catch, that catch at the end.
The one-handed catch. It was a pass interference. Unbelievable. They got to give him the ball more. Yeah, Joe, what did you think?
Yeah, I agree with your assessment. I thought UConn came out flat. Very slow start offensively. You're totally right. If it wasn't for their defense and penalties by Rice, I mean,
Rice had a ton of penalties.
It would have been nothing in the first half. They could have easily been down, 2 or even 3 scores going into the locker room. But I think, I give a little bit of credit to their offense. I think they did a good job in the second half.
They made adjustments.
And, they stuck with the run game. I think their run game has been very good all year. And then, their outside zone is their thing. They run more outside zone than anybody in the country.
70%, Dave. 70% of their run games outside zone. They set it on the air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I wanted to throw the remote through the television after hearing that.
It's a lot of outside zone, but then, it's a great, the complement, the inside zone that they went to, like you said, you call it divide, people call it split zone.
Split zone, yeah.
It was really, really good, great timing, and then they stuck with that. And then they had a nice little balance in the second half, I thought, with inside and outside zone, about 50-50, and it worked very well. I thought that was really good. And I thought the adjustments in the second half were great. And I'd love to get into. I really broke down the quarterback, and I would love to get into that at some point. But you guys,
we will. Believe me, we will. I liked those running backs get downhill fast. So I know you're not a huge fan of the pistol. I'm not a huge fan of the pistol. I'd rather it be from under center. But being in the pistol, it looks like it's more of an A gap play. I don't think they go B gap with it. Because isn't traditional inside zone is outside leg of the guard, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it looked like they were going
a cutback,
Yeah, it looked like they were going to the A gap, the front side A gap. Did you think it looked like that, Dave?
Well, A zone, yeah. I mean, inside zone. It's you press the guard, and you press in the front side A, and then if there's a nose guard and he moves over into the gap, you press it back. If you're reading the middle linebacker, he presses over, you press it back. So. But yeah, I mean that's design, and then you could slightly bounce to as far back as the B if it's there, and you could slightly move to the front side B if it's there. But really, it's A to A.
Yeah, I remember Joe with Norris. He would always say inside zone can bend, bounce, or cut.
Yep.
That was what he always said about the play.
That's right.
You know, depending on the front, the way that it ended up being blocked, it could bend, bounce, or just cut all the way. So I think it gives you a lot of options. I despise the outside zone, and I want to get the offensive coordinator on some Ozempic. It's working well for me, and I think he needs a little Ozempic, and it'll open up his mind, and he'll be happier. You know, you won't have to order from DVO.
Oh man, we don't need to go personal, do we?
Just saying.
I thought he did a great job. Listen, I agree with you.
Great job.
I
Great.
I really did. At the end of the day, they ran the ball, that's what they did.
He did a serviceable job. I would not say a great job. Great job, because I think they could have laid 40 on this team.
Yeah, that's true.
I really do. I think that once you look at the passing game and you look at how teams are playing UConn, it's either man or, like you said, I was misconstruing it, quarters, which ends up turning into man. And they're doing that, obviously, Joe, to stop the run. They're keeping the extra guy in to stop the run, or they're running the safety down, both safeties down sometimes. They're playing like several times, it looked like the corners and the safeties were at the same level, where they were all kind of stacked across. So they're not deep. They're 8 yards deep. I didn't even think they were 10 yards deep. So it was just frustrating to see that and not take advantage of it. And I think he's a little his passing game is not where it needs to be. I think the routes that they run, if they see man, I think they go to a fade. I think if he throws a fade.
It's run, take a shot down the field. That's basically their offense.
He likes the digs.
Don't take shots. That's their offense.
He likes to run the dig. He likes the crosser. He'll run mesh, but he'll run it in the wrong situation. That's the only thing that bothers me. If it's 3rd and 20, okay. But it was 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 13, or no, it was 3rd and 11. That's what Joe said. That's right. It was 3rd and 11. You can get 11 yards. I mean, there's route combinations you can run to get 11 yards. But go ahead, Joe, with your assessment.
Yeah, I think it's
9 of 24, Nick Evers.
Yeah, it's he's completing 50% of his passes. It's not pretty. But to me, the way I look at it as a former offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, you have to play to the strengths of your quarterback.
Exactly.
It's very apparent to me watching that film that he struggles throwing the ball inside the hashes towards the middle of the field. He was late. Or he was inaccurate on all those glances or, post digs, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
A couple of them were off the RPO. So the footwork is obviously a little different. It's not a 3-step and hit it in rhythm. So he's got to flip his hips. So he was late on those RPOs that were open in the first quarter. Yeah. And then, when you get man coverage, you got to recognize that, and you can't be late in man coverage. If you're late in man coverage, you give the defensive back a chance. Yeah, you give him a chance to recover and knock it away, or it's a pick. So if he sees man coverage and you're throwing those digs like they tried to do yesterday, you got to hit that rhythm and rip that ball.
It's time.
He has a 3-quarter motion and a whip with his arm throw, which you're gonna unless they really work on his timing from that standpoint, you're gonna be late. I mean, you're going to be late, and balls are not going to come out the way that you want them to. So it's just kind of his style of throwing is that way. Like now, I don't think on the fade, he actually throws a pretty good fade ball.
He gets enough air under it.
Less of an issue. That whip and that 3/4 is less of an issue on the fade ball But anything coming inside or where you really normally have to go over the top with your action, watch his throwing style. It's a difficult to get the ball on time, that style of throwing, unless he gets accustomed to really being uncomfortable and letting the ball go early, because there's that whip and that he throws from that 3/4 action. And I'm not talking about like, Patrick Mahomes 3/4, that ball comes out in a hurry,
Well,
right?
yeah.
When you have that whip, it delays the action. So the quarterback really has to be, to me, on top of his reads and willing to throw early because of that.
Are you talking about like the whip I'm thinking of is how Kerry Collins used to throw? It looked like he
It's like
used
a
to have.
hitch, almost like a hitch.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like this.
yeah.
It's like this, and
Yes,
it whips it back. There's a lot of QB coaches. It could just be his natural throwing motion, but
but they teach
there's
that.
a lot of QB coaches, when they teach some of these kids young, like some of these kids get caught. They end up learning a whip action, like instead of getting it up and out. But it may just be his natural throwing motion, which is okay. He just what happens is it forces you to be. That's why you're going to see a lower completion percentage, especially on those underneath throws, because timing and getting rid of the ball
He
early is a
struggles
big
with.
deal. The guys who could throw late on that are really guys who have a quick release that can get rid of the ball now. The ball's up and out, But that's
Joe,
motion. It doesn't mean he can't do it. It just means that
right?
it kind of has to be taught.
Joe, do you think that he can make throws to the field? Can he throw a field out? Can he throw a field comeback? Because I mean, it looks like he lacks a little bit in arm strength.
Yeah,
Or if he's not using his hips. I mean, I'm not a quarterback guru like you, so you would know.
Yeah, you saw him complete the field hitch yesterday, and I think he throws a tight spiral. Like that was good. He drove some of those balls into the wind. We saw on the broadcast that it was a windy day there. Going in towards the closed end.
Yeah.
So I thought he drove the ball pretty well. I agree with you. I don't think his arm strength is elite, which, to be honest, I think on his fades, like Coach Schuman was saying, it gives him an advantage because he gives defense, or he gives the receivers a chance to make a play. He's not overthrowing them. He's letting them come back and make a play and, maybe get a PI or maybe make a great catch. So that's what you saw happen. But can he make those big throws out to the big field? There's very few guys that can, let's be honest.
Yeah. The feel out. But I mean, even when he throws some of those unders and the crossers, he can throw behind, or I mean, his accuracy is just a little bit off from a receiver making a play.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I see. And like I said, I don't know if it's more the footwork, the mechanics, because getting your hips turned, and your hips are very, very important as a quarterback, and making some of those tough throws, and having the timing and having the arm strength. I mean, because hips are important as part of having arm strength, right? I mean, don't they play a big part in it?
Feet and hips. Yeah. I mean, it all starts from the ground. You gotta have the footwork.
Right.
And then, what I used to coach as a quarterback coach is, your feet tell you when to throw. You can't throw unless your feet are set and ready to go and planted in the ground, because that's where your power comes from. And then from your feet to your hips, that's really where it all stems from. If you want good power to drive the ball, you gotta be grounded. You gotta have good rotation in your hips, and then you got to be able to bring that ball through and rip it out there and spin it. So I think he does most of those things. I think you're right, though. His footwork's just a little bit slow, which will make you a little bit slow on the throws. So he's got to work on those things. And it takes time. College receivers are fast. They're moving inside.
Yeah.
And
And he hasn't played much either.
He hasn't played much, right? He wasn't the starter in the beginning of the year, but he does enough things right, and they can expand to me where I see UConn being able to make a difference. And I didn't necessarily see this in the game plan, is there was very little quick game. And when they did run quick game, pitches and outs, they were great, because they were playing soft and off, and there was some cover 3 looks where you can, rip quick games out there and high completion percentage, and you're getting nice little, chunks, 8 to 10, 12-yard chunks. There was very little quick game, and that gets a quarterback in rhythm. And then there was very little move the pocket pass. They tried a couple things on, 3rd and long, to try to get the edge, but there's no move the pocket play action pass, which
drives me up the wall.
Yeah, I wonder why they don't do that with him, because he's got good legs. I don't understand why. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He seems like he would be a natural to be able to move the pocket.
Yeah. Well, what it is, Coach Schuman, to me is it's very difficult to run play action, move the pocket pass from the gun. Teams do it, but it's not conducive. I agree. The linebackers can see it. Everybody can see it. If you want to have good play action pass, get under center. Be a man, get under center. And then that way they can get him out of the pocket. Yesterday they struggled to get him out. They struggled to get the edge. They're trying to run sprint action with rub routes on the outside on the 3rd down, expecting some cover 1 stuff, and they couldn't even get the edge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because a lot of the times they didn't have a tight end in helping to secure the edge. They were having the tackle and then the back help the tackle, and it just wasn't working. I don't know how they teach the footwork for the line for sprint out, but it's a reach block, but it's firm, and you have outside help from the back, so you can be a little bit stronger on the inside. That was one of the things I didn't see. But with the outside zone that they run it out of 20 personnel, and I love the naked off of it, because the way I used to run it was the lead back, instead of leading out, he would step up and he'd come behind the line and replace and be your flat route. And then you got your over route, and then you got your guy taking the top off. So he's got the run pass option. He can get it to the back into the flat with nobody there. That's your first read on a naked. And if it's not there, you high low, and you can throw it to the crossing route, or he can keep it and run. Joe, what do you think of him as a runner?
I actually thought that in the first half, their designed quarterback run, they ran quarterback lead outside zone for a first down.
Yep.
That was very good. And I really liked the motion to empty quarterback draw. It was excellent. Both those plays were really good.
I like those two.
Yeah. The biggest problem that, I see, or I saw yesterday with them, is they're so inefficient on 1st and 2nd down. They get themselves into long yard situations, and then you can't do that. If you get yourself into 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, then you can do all that quarterback running, and you can gash. They're constantly in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. It's like when you get there, it's hard. You become obviously way more predictable in those long yardage situations. But I was impressed with him as a runner, even with the broken toe they said he had, or the toenail, whatever. Yeah. I thought he ran the ball efficiently, and
he's a threat as a runner.
He's a threat.
Which is what they need most. I'm just looking.
The style offense they run with him is a lot like what Nevada used to run with Kaepernick. He was in that pistol. He was doing he would turn to the side, and he would do that read. They give the inside zone. Then he would come back off the boot, and then he run the QB draw. They widen him out, QB draw, and throw balls out to the edge a lot. It looks a lot like that. I don't know if they feel like his body type is similar and style of play is similar, or that's just the offense the coach runs. I really don't know enough to know.
Yeah. And Joe, you're right. I mean, they were
Like,
3 of 16 on third down.
if you look at the highlights of like Colin Kaepernick and what he's running, like, and you look at what UConn's running, it looks almost like the same offense.
That's in vogue. That's in vogue now. Everybody's kind of doing that. It's definitely that's the style of offense that's in college right now, and that's making a lot of pros. And Lamar Jackson does that same stuff.
Right.
It's basically a little triple option. Read, pass, run. Type of deal. It's effective, but like we talk, I'm not a big fan of pistol. Pistol gives you the ability to do that stuff if you have a great running quarterback. I get that, and that's fine. You can do it. But it limits you in terms of, to me, it's the vision of the running back. He's 2 yards. He's got a quarterback
in front of him. Yeah,
2 yards in front of him. You can't see the offensive line. It's like you're starting the play blindfolded. So I never really got the pistol. I felt like it's always been kind of a little bit unnatural for those guys. And then the read off of it, is it's not the best. It works, but
you don't get as much flow off of it when you run it from the pistol. You don't get as much close from the end. That's the issue. That's why
bend it back. You also have to bend it back as a runner a little bit, which is harder. It does because I've run like years ago. I had a quarterback that we ran the pistol with, and he was very effective. It does shield, even though the backs don't see. It shields the defense from the back too. So you can actually shield the back from where the direction that the for the defense to really see, especially the middle linebackers. So there is a little advantage on that. But it's easy. I always thought it was better with 2 backs because you can offset and you can run the lead and run power, but they don't really do that. They don't like power and counter off of it. But they don't really do, like almost like an eye, offset eye, but they don't really do a lot of that. They don't. They don't. I guess that's not. That's.
But I think they could, because I like both their tight ends.
Yeah.
I like Hunnig and Hansen, the other tight end. I think they could do some 12 personnel stuff, and they did at the end of the game.
They did. It was good.
And they scored. I just was curious. I mean, Darrell Robinson is a difference maker. Cam Edwards, unless he was hurt, I was just surprised that he did not get as much work as normal. But like I said, I think they tend to go with the hot hand. And it was Robinson. But I mean, they had 312 total yards. They held Rice to 178 total yards. I mean, that's impressive. 90 rushing, 88 passing. So, and then at time possession, it was pretty balanced, but they had 31 minutes to Rice's 28. But Rice, Joe, as you said, 12 penalties for 95 yards. And that really made the difference. But if you look at the box score, Joe, I thought legitimately they could have gone into halftime down 17-0 or down 10-0, and the defense holding kept it 3-0.
Yeah,
and then UConn came back in the third quarter with the big run for the touchdown, and then they scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to kind of seal the deal. Joe, what were your thoughts on they score the touchdown? It's 17-3, 3 minutes left. Everyone's celebrating. Rice returns a kickoff, 100 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah, it was one of those games, like you guys said. It was sloppy all along. And it's no one's going to pull away. Someone's going to make another mistake, and that's what UConn did. They kind of let up a little bit on the kickoff coverage, and they pop one. And that kid's a great athlete. The kid that returned that, the receiver, he was very impressive. So you just knew it was going to come down to the last play. It was always going to be a 1-score game, So, I give UConn credit for finishing it out and getting.
They always do.
They finished it out. That was a very good fourth quarter for them. Other than the kickoff return, they possessed the ball. They ran the clock out. They ran it when they needed to. They did a good job there.
And I do give the coach, the offensive coordinator, credit because I know he's the O-line coach as well.
Right.
It's his first time calling plays. So as a first-time play caller, Joe, as you know, it's a learning experience, and you get better week to week.
Right. Yeah. You get better week to week, season to season. It's a very demanding, hard, pressure-filled job.
Well, and it's tough to coach the line and do it too.
Well, yeah, if you guys saw on the broadcast, he's, just like most O-line coaches are, they're like 40 yards down the field trying to see like the front of the defense.
Yeah.
So
up in the box.
Think about that. To me, like when I was the OC, I was on the field for 3 games, and I'm like,
I could never do it on the field.
Yeah, like get me out of the emotion. I don't want kids coming up to me saying, "Oh, don't I'm open." No.
Yeah.
Let the other coaches deal with that. I want to get what I want to run straight. But Coach Samus is way down the field looking at the defensive front, which all O-line coaches do.
Yep.
And then he's calling plays from there. But think about the perspective that he sees. Like he's not really seeing
what the kids,
how they're moving the ball. He's got to rely on somebody saying, "Oh, it's 2nd and 8," whatever it may be. So it just feels like it felt weird for him, or watching him. I was like, man, I couldn't do that. So I know what he's going through, and they hung on yesterday and they got it done. It wasn't pretty, but they finished.
Yeah, Dave, that would be the one thing that I would definitely say about this team, and we've said it every week. They have toughness, grit, and they never give up, no matter what the situation is. They always play hard. They never phone it in. And I think that's why they win games. They stay in games because they never quit. And Coach Moore has done an excellent job building that culture. And you've liked him all along. You've said that he's the right guy for the job. He's built a fantastic culture, and that's what's making the difference.
Yeah, I think his culture and what he's doing and getting them to fight. That's not an easy thing. Like, you could have talented teams that won't fight right to the end. Like, his team is pretty talented, but they're willing to fight to the end. They will fight. It seems like, unless you knock them out, which you're going to have to do in order to not get them to fight back. And that, I think that's the best thing about his team, really, is their fight, because they could easily have a completely different record. Okay. And I think so that's a fantastic asset going forward. Now, obviously, in the transfer portal era, I don't know, from year to year, your team could turn over. You kind of have to keep redoing it. But as far as how he has that going, I think that's really, really good. That's something you build in. It's just a matter of like getting the different more of the pieces that he needs in the right places. It looks like running back wise, we're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
The line's a work in progress, but they're not bad. The defense is tough. They're tough.
Defense is phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, they're tough. I mean, I don't know what the talent level is per se, but they're tough. Like they're tough. They will fight. Like, I think they're decent talent wise.
They're ranked top 10 in the country defensively.
Yeah, I think they play above their level, and I think that's a big deal. I think that's a good sign for the team. I think some of the stuff offensively is really a matter of, is the quarterback truly enough of a playmaker to make things happen? And if he is, then we don't have enough playmakers on the outside. If he isn't, then that may be a little bit of a limitation. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean he's not good. He is good. But a playmaker is like, you watch college football and there's some guys that push the team down the field with ease. And you're like, why does this team go down the field with ease? Well, we can't. Everything's a grind, right? even though our running backs run the ball well. It's just there's some quarterbacks that really see the field well and make plays that you're like, it's a matter of what Coach talked about before, putting the ball in the right place at the right time. It's if you're able to do that consistently, that's the difference between catching the ball and being tackled immediately or catching the ball and the receiver running. That's a big difference between scoring lots of points and having to grind up the field. You know what I mean? So
on the drives, yeah.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't mean he can't get there. It's like you said, like he's new. It's his first year starting. I think those are the things that will make the difference. And quarterbacks nowadays looking at when they get in the offseason, when they're not with their coaches, they got to go get with a guy who's an elite guy and get some of the things that need to be worked on. If they're not able to move, because that can be handled pretty easily nowadays. It's not. There are a handful of guys throughout the country. They're all looking to get guys that are college guys or potential pro guys, and to work with them. And you go get with one of those guys in a group, and you'll fix some of those things fairly quickly. I think that's the difference. I think that's the difference between scoring 21 points and being some of these grind games, and to actually UConn really blowing out some of these teams. And it's not far. It's just taking him from being a good quarterback or a solid quarterback to being a playmaker, an elite playmaker. And I think that some of it's experience, some of it's tweaking, the things where he gets the ball to guys where they can run.
Joe, I think talent-wise, they can play with anyone. I think Skylar Bell and Sheffield are two good receivers. I think they have a good tight end in Hunnig. I think up front they were struggling because they were playing with a backup left guard and they were playing with their third string right guard. So that obviously hampered them. But with the stable of running backs they have, if Nick can be a little bit more efficient and the defense keeps playing how they're playing, they got their 5th win, one more to be bowl eligible. I like I said before, I think they're close to having the dam break and the water flowing, and the offense eventually will click, and you'll start to see the 30 to 40 point outputs again.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you brought up, Cully. You're only as good as your offensive line as well. We've obviously scrutinized the quarterback play a lot, but if you have both backup guards in the game, you really have to have a specific game plan to help those guys out,
protect them. Yeah,
and we were texting during the game. 50 pro is not it.
That's what was driving me nuts. Yeah, you got your third string right guard in. You can't get 5 out. I know every offensive coordinator wants to get 5 out. I know they do. But keep the back in. He's got to help. He's got to help the right guard. Because, the times Nick had to step up and avoid pressure.
Yeah. The first half, it was so bad in the first half. Yeah. 100%. And if I agree with you there, but that was my point before. It's like drop back pass. If that's the case, drop back pass, out. Take it out.
Yeah.
Take it out. So use your quick game and then move the pocket. Nothing easier for an offensive line than to freaking run one way and the quarterback goes the other way. And he's out there. That's beautiful stuff for the offensive line. So that's really what your play action, move the pocket stuff does. It's a play off for the O-line. Just elephants on parade that way and let the quarterback go that way.
Coach, why do people hesitate to do that a lot? I never understood that. Why do a lot of coaches? Is it because they're kind of brought up in, when they become a coordinator, they kind of have been. Everyone talks about the air raid systems and running those kind of things. Well, why do they hesitate to really do that? You don't see it a lot.
It's a lost art.
Joe went back to it. You went back to it at Cornell your last year. And did it? I went
at Cornell. I went back to it at Cornell. We were number 1 in the conference in completion percentage. We were number 1 in the country in time of possession. We had the ball over 34.5 minutes a game. And all of that is to keep sustaining drives and keep our defense off the field, period. Our defense saw 57 snaps a game last year. 57. What D coordinator doesn't want that?
Yeah.
And it was all with run game, quick game, move the pocket, pass from under center. You gotta if you're gonna do it, you gotta go under center. You can't do it from the gun. It just doesn't work.
And you ran your outside zone as well from under center.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to read from under center.
I think it is too. And it is, if I recall, the aiming point is 1-by-1 outside the tight end normally, right?
Ghost tight end, we call it. Yeah. So one our aiming point is the outside ghost tight end outside the the D gap basically.
Yeah, and then so your receiver will push crack to that side, right?
Well, I was a big fan of having condensed sets because that gets them out of man coverage, and you saw it yesterday. They're trying to run RPOs into man coverage. Well, it just doesn't work.
No,
you're not moving anybody, and you're still getting one-on-one coverage on the outside. So, but yeah, we would go to condensed sets to get them out of man, and if they wanted to stay in man, good luck. Because we'll mesh you guys and we'll, you have the threat. To me, when you condense a set in a formation, you add a D gap, an E gap, and an F gap that somebody has to cover. A DB has to now cover that gap, and they don't want to do that. But they start coming in and covering those gaps when you start running inside zone, zone divide, as you said, or duo or toss. They got to cover those gaps. But now, once they start covering that, you have every single naked
available.
You have all of them available. We never really ran true naked. I always had somebody protecting the
backside end. Yeah,
always. Yeah. I never liked to go true naked. That wasn't.
Yeah, it's a risk to do that. That's like I like to slam flat by the tight end. I like to drive him down for 5 steps and have him release into the flat. And I think they could do more of that. And my favorite formation, I like the trips with the dead tight end backside. And that's what I like the RPO off of, because you can run your outside zone to the dead tight end, and then you can run all your RPO stuff with 3 receivers. You can run bubble and go. You can run the slants. You can run a post wheel. I mean, there's so many different things you can do. And that's where I don't see them getting a lot into. They like the 20 personnel a lot, and they stay in 11 personnel, but it's usually not with a trip set. It can be a 2-by-2. They'll put the tight end in a slot and have him stand up. That's where I think they could take advantage if they use a little more personnel groupings and some different sets, because their 20 personnel is out of the gun and you got 2 tailbacks. So it's always kind of off of what you're going to be doing. It limits what you're going to do. And I think once they, as you said, play to the kid's strength, you know what he can execute. You know what he can execute. Focus on the good. Don't practice the stuff. I used to say it all the time. I mean, this play's great. There's guys wide open. Yeah, we've ran it 4 times. He hasn't hit it once. Right. So how great of a play is it if you can't execute it? That's how. I mean, that's how I would be. I'd be like, sure, yeah, it's a great play. I see the guys wide open too. Our quarterback apparently doesn't. Mm-hmm. Why run it? Why run it? Why waste the rep in running it? Run something that he does well. Correct. The other thing that I didn't see a lot of was the screen game. Now, I know the backs dropped the ball a couple times in the screen game, but I think they could implement more of a screen game. I think they could implement even a tight end screen. I think they could, even something to Skylar Bell, get it to him in space a little bit more. I've loved to see him do a jet sweep to Skylar Bell. I haven't seen that. And those are things I think, like you mentioned, getting the ball to your playmakers. Skylar Bell is your playmaker. He's your main wide receiver playmaker. And those are different things like I'd like to see them add in to get him the ball.
Yeah, I also think, when you have a new offensive coordinator, first time offensive coordinator, like he's like literally working out these things on the fly. Like he's going to go initially to what he knows as an offensive line coach, which is figuring out the best way that he thinks to block the ball for a run game and everything to do with that, right? And that's a lot of times what you get with offensive linemen become, they're not all like Andy Reid, you know what I mean? So a lot of times when offensive line coaches become coordinators, their first instinct is to figure out how do we block the run game and how do we have a great run game, and then the passing game and dealing with a quarterback that runs the ball like and you're obviously an offensive lineman. You're trying to limit the variables as an offensive lineman, right? And I think a lot of times offensive line coaches are trying to limit the variables. Quarterback that runs increases the variables, right? So to
Absolutely.
figure out how you want to operate your offense with that, and because you have to get comfortable with the fact that this quarterback may break the ball running somewhere where you didn't intend it to go. Like linemen have to understand that these things are not going to always break exactly where. And obviously the zone game is fit for that, but it becomes a thing where you have to be okay with, okay, this is the design of the play and this is where it broke, right? But the passing game has to be more, like Coach said, if you get him comfortable with quick pass game, I like your idea in the screen game, right? Things that he can complete to get him confident early on. Then I think he'll really feel comfortable. I think it opens up for quarterbacks, especially when they're newly starters and he's had injuries, he's had concussions. Like get him comfortable with some completions that he can throw that are easy throws and that he can get confidence. That's to me is the most important thing you could do for a quarterback in throwing, especially a guy that this is his first year starting. He's been knocked out of the game twice for concussions.
Exactly.
Sit there and take shots early in the game is not going to get him comfortable. I mean, the shot where he had the fumble early on or whatever, like those things don't get your quarterback comfortable. And if you know that you have backup linemen in, you got to coach around that part. And I think that's the things that they have to continue to work on because that will help him. It may have zero to do with what the outcome of the game is initially, but it will have a lot to do with how the quarterback feels throughout the game. And that will make a difference ultimately when they have the chance to break a game open because now he'll feel a lot more comfortable. I don't know, Coach. That's kind of my thought process when you have a newer quarterback, a guy that's been knocked around. Like get him confident, get him feeling comfortable, and then you can go from there.
It's a great point. It's a great point. I love that. I love that. Screens for sure help. And I think Cully, you're right on wide receiver screens in particular. I think number 1 and number 8 are outstanding. And those are easy touches and get those guys, like Coach said, gets quarterback comfortable, but it also gets those receivers involved in the game and get them in the game plan. Now, the thing with Cully, you probably remember this from our UConn days, but the thing with screens are they're high intensive. You got to work the crap out of them for them to be good. And to be honest, they never look good in practice because you never get the look.
The defense cheats too. They look at the script.
Yeah, they looked at the script, but even that, like the quarterback's not he's wearing a red jersey, so they're not really rushing them, and then they peel and they make a play. They never look good in practice. So you really you just drill the shit out of them, and then you gotta trust in it, like just run them in the game. And especially to me, I thought that Rice was running a lot of man coverage. So running back screens and man coverage is not good.
Very difficult.
Yeah, very difficult. The lines really got to have their head like pass set and then go, and you got to be really ready to block the guy that's playing the running back man, or else it's going nowhere. It's a very hard thing to do. But receiver screens, on the other hand, are very good versus man coverage, as long as you get the linemen out there and the receivers are willing to block. So I think that's something that they could have done. They can definitely add into the repertoire to get a lot of guys more involved and get the quarterback on schedule with high completion percentage balls.
Yeah, and I like having a tight end there. So if it does end up being man coverage, you have the slot receiver Skylar Bell step up and come back. Your tight end goes flat and leads, and he's the kick out guy for number one. You get the tackle up for number two, and the guard and is your cleanup guy. And I think that's a real good answer to get the ball to one of the playmakers. Joe, the other thing that kind of bothered me, it didn't seem like they had an answer for the blitz per se, like any blitz checks per se. And they were running what they ran, whatever was called, into the blitz. And I never liked doing that because you have to teach your offensive line how to execute pretty much every play into every blitz. And I think there's not enough time in the world to do that. I think there's very simple blitz checks you can have depending on the blitz that's coming. Did you see that at all as far as how they handled the blitz and if you thought they were adjusting to it?
Well, yeah, one in particular in the first half, I agree with you. It's hard for the offensive line, but it's also hard for the running backs because they have to see it and they have to be the last line of defense, really. So if the line isn't seeing it properly, then the running back who has to play off of them is not going to be seeing it properly either. And one of the sacks in the first half, you saw that. It wasn't a zero blitz, but they slid the line to the left and they blitzed from the right. And,
Correct.
And the guard initially popped to the linebacker and then went the other way.
Went the other way.
The back already cleared it, and that guy came in for a sack.
Free. Yeah,
free, untouched. So I didn't see in particular any cover zero looks yesterday.
No.
Yeah,
they were bringing 5.
Yeah, bringing 5, and you could see it from the you can see it. The quarterback, is taught to read the coverage keys.
Yes.
Are there is the linebacker capped by a safety? Is that rotation? Is the safety tilt or rotated a certain way? Those are all keys that can help a quarterback kind of adjust, so you're not sliding the line left when the blitz is coming from the right. So, and I don't know if that's in their repertoire. I know it was at ours at Cornell. Our quarterback called the protection on every single play, the direction.
I think they have to. I think if they know where they're protected from,
they're good.
Then they know where they'll be able to go with the ball.
Right. Or where they're hot off.
Yeah, where they're going to be hot off of. Yes. I think that has to be controlled by the quarterback. Do you think that UConn is not doing that? Do you think it's just a called protection and he is not adjusting it or having the ability to adjust it?
Yeah, he might not have the, that's a lot. It's a lot on the
It's a lot to put on him, 100%.
But
100%.
that play in particular, it looked like they slid the line left. Slid the line. They were running a lot of 3-down stuff, and mainly if you're a 3-down team, you're going to bring somebody from the boundary more often than not. So they slid the line to the boundary and they blitzed from the field. So that's where they got a little bit confused there, the guard and the running back, and gave up a sack. So I'm not sure if it's too much on his plate. Or they just say, hey, we're going to get in 60 pro and we're going to make the back just block it. Hey, we got the will in this picture here. The back's got the Mike to the Sam. So I don't know if that's what they're doing, but it's a lot on the QB.
Right. And coming up, it's still amazing to me. Joe Figiano still leads the team with 1,000 yards passing. 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Evers has 4 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. And that's still crazy. That's still crazy. I mean, he got a majority of those numbers in the Merrimack and the Florida FIU or FAU game. And he's still the leader. I like that their rushing attack overall. Robinson has 565 yards. Mel Brown 360. Cam has 357. Evers has 172. They have 1,543 yards rushing in 8 games, which is not bad at all. And they're averaging nearly 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, they have 4 backs over 4 yards a carry, right?
Yes.
Or 3 backs. 3 backs.
They have 3. Yes. No, they have 4. They do have 4. They have 3 backs and 1, 2, 3. No, they have 4 backs. 4 backs averaging over 4 yards a carry, and 2 backs averaging over 5 yards a carry, which is great. It's just the receiving numbers. Sheffield leads the team with 32 receptions. Skylar Bell is 28, and Gavings has 20. So that's the only thing that's concerning in the passing game, where you'd expect a little bit more production from those positions by the 8th game. You'd like to see them have 40 catches, but I think that's a big area of improvement. And they have Georgia State this week for senior night. Should be a big game, should be a win. And with Georgia State, Syracuse, and UMass, they got to win 2 out of the last 3, I believe, for sure. Wouldn't you say that, Dave?
Yeah, if they want to go to a bowl game, so they're gonna have to win those. I think they will.
It's possible, yeah.
They look plenty good to be able to take care of it, and there's no doubt they should win 2 of those 3. They are in a situation where they're playing very well overall. I think the offense, if they can get, I don't know what the right mix is. That's the thing that they have to work out, what the right mix is. But if they could do that, I mean, they're gonna slam through the rest of the year. They have a chance to beat Syracuse. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Syracuse looked rough against Pittsburgh.
They struggled against Pitt. Yeah.
I mean, obviously their quarterback's a great quarterback and had a bad game in that game, but yeah, I mean, I think they're in a great position. I mean, it's amazing that you're talking about them after last year being in a bowl game. So they've really made in just a short time period great progress, really, really great progress. So, Georgia State's going to struggle coming up north, I think, and if we run the ball well against them, it's going to be a little bit colder. It'll be more of a factor in this game than even it would be in the last game.
Joe, what do you think about the rest of the season, the perspective? Do you think they obviously can go 2-1, potentially 3-0, but they'll get to 7 wins at least?
Yeah, I think they will. With that defense, I think their defense is outstanding. The 2 guys I highlighted that I thought played excellent. Number 10 is all over the place.
Jaden McDonald, yeah, he is. He gets hurt, and he just puts his shoulder back into place, and he's back on the field.
He's just fast. I love him. He's good. And then number 80, I thought the defensive lineman was very
he's
good.
Tough up front.
He was very good. Price Yates was his name. Those 2 guys. Anytime you have good defense like that, we had some defenses like that, Cully, when we were at Harvard, and Coach Murphy would tell us 4 touchdowns. That's all we need. We're going to get 12 possessions, 4 touchdowns. That's it. If you get 28 points, our defense should not, we'll hold them to 20 or less, and we should win every game. Just that's it. I think if they can get there, and like Coach Schuh was saying, it's just a matter of efficiency. Just play to your kids' strengths. It's all about players, formations, and then plays. Get your playmakers the ball, put them in good formations, and then the plays will, you can run any play you want. Just get those guys the ball. So I think if, they do those things, I think they have a chance to win all 3, get bowl eligible, and then we'll fly out there and party. It'll be great.
Are you saying, Joseph, that you will attend a bowl game if they go to one?
Hey, I have been trying. I've been coaching for 22 years.
I know you've never had a chance. You're right.
So
that's right.
I am very excited to go go to a game, I'm not going to fly back this year for a regular season game, but if they go to a bowl game, I'm going to tell my wife I'm out. I'm going to see some UConn football.
Coach Schuman,
I can't
bowl
commit
game.
yet. I can't commit yet.
Can you commit to the last home game? Will you be able to go to the last home game?
Mike Bird asked me about that. It's Friday night, correct?
Yeah, it's Friday night. Come on, we'll go Friday night. We'll come back Saturday morning.
Here's the issue. Saturday morning, I have to be down by LBI because my son's playing in the
All-Star game. That's right. What time's the game?
All right.
They play at 11 a.m.
Oh,
it's
okay.
down by it's down. You would know. It's towards Atlantic City, so it's like another hour from where I am, and I'm in the middle of the state, so it's another hour from where I am. So that would be
where are you now?
A 5-hour hike.
Where are you now? Where are you living now?
New Jersey.
I live in Lincroft, which is right next to Red Bank.
Oh yeah, I'm from Ocean Township.
Oh, okay, yeah. So my son plays for Middletown AYF. So I coach. That's why he always teases me because I coach his 9U team.
Is he gonna go to South?
We don't. He goes to parochial school for undergrad. I mean for undergrad for what do you call it? Grammar school undergrad.
Dave,
it's either going to be RBC South. He would be. That's where we're districted South.
Okay.
Or another parochial school. It could be Vienna. I don't know. We'll see.
Dave, Courtney Williams commented a good Christian would attend the bowl game. Just so you know.
What days? It depends what day that bowl game is, man.
It would probably be a December one.
Yeah.
If they go 7-5. It's
going to be December 26th, of course. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, I remember last year I watched the Minnesota bowl game, and Minnesota was 5-7, and they got in because they award the teams with the best academics.
That's right.
If the conference doesn't have enough bowl eligible teams.
Wow.
And so Minnesota had the best academics, and they got in the bowl game. I can't remember who they played. I thought it was someone from the MAC.
It was the game they beat Syracuse, right? The Pinstripe Bowl. Was that it?
No. Yeah. It was in. I believe it was at Ford Field.
Maybe it was 2 years ago.
Maybe it was 2 years ago. But yeah, they got him because of that. PJ Fleck. I remember he was so happy. But yeah, I think 7-5. I hope they the attendance yesterday was not great, but I still go back to Randy Edsall and his philosophy when you play home at Rentschler Field. And I still think he has it right. Operating out of the gun and trying to run the spread is very, very difficult with the weather conditions, especially in October and in November, late November.
In an airplane, it's going to be windy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're on natural grass. Yeah. So his philosophy was to run the football, play tough defense, win the field position battle, don't turn the ball over, and score in the red zone. Those were his 5 principles for winning. And it worked. And that's why they ran power and counter up the ass. Okay. And that's how, and they controlled the line of scrimmage and they won the time of possession. And that's what I think made them different, because teams in this era are not built to stop a traditional 21 personnel team. They don't have a true 4-3 look to do it. So that's where I think they could take advantage if they did a little bit more of that. But I know this is what they run.
Let me comment on that, Cully, real quick.
Yeah, you can comment.
In yesterday's game, Rice got under center 3 times.
Oh, I know.
They
Yeah,
fumbled it twice.
I know you're going there. Yeah.
And then UConn gets under center in a backed up situation. They're on the -1 yard line. UConn gets under center. It's like, why on earth
Do you do it then?
do offensive coordinators and head coaches allow that to happen in the most critical situation? 4th and 1, backed up, goal line. You're going to get under center and do something you've never done?
Why do you do that? What's the thought process on that?
It's the tush push now. Everyone wants to do the tush push.
No, but it's amazing that it's
only 5 minutes.
Yeah,
they're not practicing it, right? They're not practicing.
They never practice it.
And Rice fumbled the 4th and goal player, the 4th and whatever play. UConn got the stop that turned the game around, but because they actually brought a tight end in to run the quarterback sneak. So you got a guy who doesn't take a snap regularly. He's trying to take the snap and run the QB sneak. I thought that was nuts. So I blew my mind. But overall, ugly game. The offense came back in the second half and won it. I give them credit for their toughness, their grit, staying in there and fighting. Offensively, they started to get into the pistol. They started to run some inside zone. They saw the success that they had with it. They got north and south instead of east and west, and it made the difference. So hopefully we'll see more of that. The defense holding them to 10 points. I give the defense all the credit in the world. For a month that I bashed the 3-3-5, how much I hated it. They run it well. They believe in it. And Coach Brock has done an outstanding job getting those kids to play for him. And, the offensive coordinator, his first time calling plays, he's learning. He's doing the best he can. And each week, we hope to see improvement. And I think they do learn from the film. And the one thing they do is they make halftime adjustments, which makes all the difference. So I think that they're going to be in good shape this week against Georgia State to get that 7th win, and that 2-game winning streak, having a little momentum going to play Syracuse.
I agree, no doubt. No
doubt. Joseph, any last thoughts?
No, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate, Cully, you bringing me back. Happy to watch the film and help and add my expertise where I can, if you would even call it expertise. But great talking to you guys. It was a lot of fun, man, and good win for UConn. I hope they keep it up.
Yeah, me too. We all do.
I got one quick question before you go.
I do have to say one other thing too.
Yeah, so
you can't ask any questions about me. No questions about me to Joe.
No, it's not about you.
Okay.
That might take too long, Steve. So it's about you guys were talking the other day. I watched a little bit about it, about how they're going to the roster changes.
Oh, you watched it? Okay.
I didn't get through the whole thing, but I watched a good amount of it. And so what how are they going to handle? So they're going to drop the scholarship. They're increasing scholarship amounts, but they're decreasing the roster size. Like, what do you think they're going to do at the Division I level? Are walk-ons going to be gone?
He had a good thought. His perspective is what I believe will happen. The way he explained it made perfect sense. So I'll let him take it away.
I appreciate that, Cully. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. What's going to happen is every single player on the team, all 95 to 105 is what they're proposing now, whatever number it is, 95, 100, 105. There's going to be that many full scholarships. So it's basically going to become, you're a professional team. You're a minor league team. There are no walk-ons. You can't just walk on that team. There's no spot for you. And really so there's not going to be any walk-ons. And really what the path of the walk-on is going to become, as we talked about on the show, is you're going to have to go down a level and play and prove yourself and then transfer up. and play and prove yourself and maybe transfer up again. Like that's how there's not going to be any of those stories anymore of, Sam Bennett, becoming Georgia's starting quarterback from a walk-on position, or Stetson Bennett. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's going to become a thing of the past. It's all going to be minor league farm systems, and people are going to be trying to jump up to the next level, and but there's not going to be any walk-on spots for you. There's not going to be walk-on tryouts. I don't think. You're going to have 100 full scholarships to give. Well, then there's no spot for a walk-on.
And how at FCS, how many spots will they have roster-wise? The same amount of roster spots will they then?
They didn't.
Or is that staying the same?
I didn't see an announcement if the FCS was increasing, but I'll have to check.
Oh no, but are they going to have roster limitations though?
Oh, I didn't see that. Yeah, I didn't see if they were changing.
They weren't.
It's a good question. I don't know.
I didn't. I didn't see that either. So
that means that you're going to have the overwhelming majority of those kids. Then that would be maybe walk-ons at that level, then to FCS or below, right? That's kind of, I guess, how it's going to work.
Yeah,
it's wild. It's wild. It's a totally new system. I see all these high school kids now. They're like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, you're going to have to find a place that wants you to play. Like that's it. No matter what the level. Like, find a place that wants you to play. Go there, like that place. Hopefully, it's great for you for 4 years. Somehow, you become a star, and you want to move up. That's what you have to do.
But yeah, that's the thing. You don't have to stay for 4 years anymore. There's no penalty on transferring, so you can transfer every year if you want.
Every year.
But you gotta, like you said, Coach. It's if you want to play college football, there is a home for you. I promise. There's some school out there that will take you for sure as a walk-on, whatever, Division 3, 2, 1.
Right.
There's a home for you. And some paths are going to be different now. It's not going to look the same. This guy might go to Division 3 and kill at, I don't know, Tufts. And then, BC might take a chance on him. Then from BC, all right, maybe Ohio State takes. You just never know. It's just.
I wonder if I'm thinking, 15 years from now, I wonder if this will affect the number of kids. It won't initially playing football at the lower levels than in high school. And I'm not talking about flag. I'm talking about tackle. You know what I mean? Flag's just going to continue to increase because it's, a different thing. But I'm talking about tackle because when one of the pieces of candy that was out there was that you would have that opportunity, right, for high schoolers. And not as many high schoolers are getting recruited at the higher levels unless you're a megastar. And will that ultimately discourage down the line people from getting into football for various reasons? You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that begins to have an effect on it at all. Like, it doesn't kill the hope and the dream, but like it does change it a lot, unless you really see that the kid is an elite athlete right away. It changes kind of the trajectory. Because I noticed even before the transfer portal really became big and NIL became big, but just when the transfer portal started going, that kids were like, if they didn't get the opportunity, they're just like, hey, I'm going to go college and be a student. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow. In the past, this 15 years ago, that player would have went and played in college. Like, he wouldn't have said, I would go be a student. I thought that was starting to shift a little bit, which I thought was interesting because there was a big time period where college football really was a thing that people really hoped to be able to play and have that opportunity, whatever it is. And if it seems like it's this mountain to climb, I wonder if it deters down the line. I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but I really don't know. But it is interesting. I believe the minor league system, you're 100% right. That's what I've been saying is going to be. It's that's all it is, dude. It's baseball's minor league system,
Right. Yeah. The reality is that college football is over.
Like, it's pro football. Yeah.
It's not college football anymore. And the other thing, like, you look at some of these rosters, guys, this guy's 6th year, this guy's 7th year. Like, what is that? Like how is that possible?
I don't know how that's possible.
Like it's
Well, if you redshirt and then graduate, then you get an extra year. The COVID year gave you an extra year if you redshirted. It's crazy how they do it
Been
now.
there for 9 years. The one guy, the Miami tight end, is like his ninth. How is that? I don't even know how
He,
that's
he
possible.
got like a couple medical red shirts and a red shirt. It's crazy how the NCAA does it, but yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's why it's actually, I think it's what's helped like the Ivy League with getting better and better players, because you know, so many of these kids are that are good players are like, hey, you know what, like, you know, you talk to, obviously you were coach Ivy League, you talk to those guys now, there's no shortage of guys that want to go Ivy League.
Yeah.
20 years ago that they actually, you know, like, people didn't think about it in the way they think about it now. Everybody wants to go to the Ivy League now. Everybody. They all want to go in the Ivy League. Like, they really have their pick of the players within reason. Obviously, academics are a big deal, but it's interesting because you have a lot much better player going there because of it.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first. The Ivy League kids are using the schools as their NIL. They want.
Well, they're unionizing too.
Yeah, they want the name, image, and likeness of the schools to put on their resume. That's what they want.
You're right.
So there's never going to be, and you know, you talk about those kids, you know, that I've had fortunate, you know, to coach, and Cully at Holy Cross, same type of high character, great work ethic kids.
Great kids.
Those kids are so well trusted. If they're good enough to go to the NFL, they will certainly get a spot because they're trusted. They're good kids. They're not going to be a problem. They're not going to be a pain in the ass in the locker room or off the field. You know, there's so many kids that I've coached that are still out there playing. You know, Kyle Juszczyk out here in San Fran, Tyler Ott, you know, still long snapping for the Redskins. I mean, it's just those guys are still playing ball, and they're in their, I think, their 10th year of playing the NFL, and they got a Harvard degree.
Yeah,
like, can't beat that.
Like Ryan Fitzpatrick too.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
I just went to the Steelers Raiders game to see a kid that I recruited to play at Harvard, Aaron Shamklin. He's playing running back for the Steelers, and he's got a Harvard degree, and he's from Long Beach Poly. You know, so it's like, what better success story than that? You know. No,
there's no doubt about it. It's incredible. No, it's really interesting hearing your thoughts on it, because obviously you coached in college for such a long time. You've seen it all happen, like, in front of your eyes. How this has kind of evolved. It's wild. It really is wild.
It's different.
It's like, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that it would go so far in one direction, so fast. You know what I mean? So far, so fast.
Cully and I have talked about this. I think it's very, very irresponsible of the NCAA to do it like this. Like, there's a perfect system. The NCAA has hourly restrictions on the athletes, or the coaches really, on how much they can see the athletes during the week. So in season,
40 hours or 20 hours a week?
20 hours in season, 8 hours out of season.
Right.
It's a perfect model to pay the kids hourly like it's a job. It's perfect. Why do you have to give them $1 million? Just pay them $200 an hour for the $20 or for the 20 hours a week. It's so simple, and they completely screwed it up, and now it's a disaster.
And you can't get the genie back in the bottle. Never happens.
No. Yeah, no. Everybody wants that, and you know, it's driving the coaches crazy. You know, the coaches are getting pummeled. These kids come, I'm playing here, I'm playing there. I got this much playing time. I want more money. I want that. What? Like, coaches got to deal with that now?
I know, and I feel like it becomes an investment thing, meaning like, you're not really invested in my program, then I'm not really going to invest in you as a player. Like, they're mercenaries to an extent. Some of the kids, you know, it becomes this, like, I don't know, it's like thing that gets worse and worse, because whereas before you're totally invested in a player and his success, you're trying to develop them. Now you're invested in totally in the now, like, what can they do for you now? And players invested in the program the same way. What can the program do for me now? And then oh, they're gonna leave. Okay, see you later. Like, thanks for playing.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's so weird. It was nice having you for a year. It was great. Nice meeting you.
Right.
Right. And
The rest of your career is great. Like, the best thing about football is always that, like, you're able to have this relationship with your coach for many years that, even sometimes a friendship down the line, that's just right out the window. I mean,
absolutely.
That's right out the window. But anyway, we'll let you go. It was great having you on, Coach.
Oh, I have to say one thing, Coach. I apologize. Procyon Partners, my friend Sean Rabinowitz. I'm not putting him over, but they do specialize in wealth management, employee benefits, and retirement planning. Sean's son, Ben, unfortunately has leukemia, and he needs a bone marrow transplant. He's 8 years old. He's a great kid. We're doing a bone marrow drive in Branford, Connecticut, November 2nd. It's at the CrossFit in Branford. It's from 8:30 to 1:30. Anyone can go and get tested. It's just a little cheek swab, and they also will send you a kit if you are out of the area to get tested. So if anyone can go and be part of this and get tested, he had leukemia 2 years ago, beat it, went into remission. It just came back. They caught it early. He started his chemo, but he's going to need a bone marrow transplant. So we need to find him a match, and our UConn family, we got to come together to support him and his son. So if anyone can show up for this event, and if you're not in the area, we'll give you the website in the show notes. Please get tested. They'll send you a kit so we can help him and he gets the treatment he needs. That is all. So I will say again, for Coach Schuman, our host, 2024 Pop Warner or AYSO 9-year-old Coach of the Year candidate, and Joe Villipiano, walk-on wide receiver at UConn, offensive coordinator at Cornell. I, Steve Cully, the best podcast radio host in the universe. This has been Husky Huddle. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.